Living live, living live. What's up, Talos of Tech? It's the Apple Sheep once again, coming right back from the big ol' Why We're Apple Sheep video. That was interesting, and the views about the iPhone being delayed. How's everyone doing today? We're coming up on 53,000. Thanks to you guys. Views are at a pretty all-time high, as I checked this morning. Thanks to you. People were very, very concerned about the iPhone X being delayed, for one. Also, people were very, very concerned about why we're Apple Sheep, and people were sending that around. So, anyway, it's an exciting time for us Apple Sheep, at least for on the Apple Sheep channel. Am I peeking out here? I might just turn it down just to be sure. Make sure everything's running smoothly. We are not on the gaming channel now. Hello, Bander. What's going on? We're not in gaming. Change that to science and technology. There we go. Okay. Hello, Yi Hirasawa. How's it going? Make sure everything's running. Cool. So yeah, I was very concerned about the iPhone X being delayed, but I just feel like it's different because they have a scheduled time. It's not as arbitrary or as broad as AirPods were, where it was just like October, and that was it. It was just letting people know that at some point in October, AirPods would be ready. And they announced it in September, but this time they were actually like October 27th. That's our deadline. We're going to reach it. Don't drink bleach. No, that was a Food Channel joke. The Food Channel technically is real, but it's also a joke. So it's a real joke. Okay. Don't believe everything you see. Maybe we should change it on the Elgato. There we go. Cool. Wonderful. You have confidence in them? Good. I'm glad you do. Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy going around on YouTube right now, but anyway, I got a new desk. See, my parents go to these surplus sales where they get rid of old furniture and stuff, and they needed school. And they asked if I wanted to come along if I needed anything. I couldn't think of anything I really needed. But then I found this like really tiny desk, and I sadly can't show it to you because of the way the setup is right now. But this tiny desk allowed me to use 2 of my old Asus monitors, and then I can finally use that dock case that is it dock case? Yeah, that's the name of the company that they sent to me that brings back all the old ports on your MacBook. So I put the MacBook on top of that, plug it in, and then I have a 3-monitor setup for the first time. And oh, that is relieving. It's finally nice to have a 3-monitor setup. I realize I've not really actually had one. I've had 2-monitor setups for a long time, but there's very rarely been an occasion where I've had 3 monitors to work with, and now I have the 2.7K MacBook display and then 2 1080p resolutions at the same time, which was really, really cool. And let's see. Can Dan get foam, please? He actually did get foam, but he only got like something like 2 files or something. It wasn't good. It was bad. But he's probably not watching this, so don't tell him I said that. But he got like 9 files and put like 2 on one wall, 3 on the other. It was just so basic. It's cute. But I mean, Dan knows a lot about other things. Like when we went out shooting, he knew a lot about guns that I didn't know about because I'm not really a shooting guy. I don't go out shooting very often. However, when it comes to lighting and sound, I am definitely more the professional. And one of these things makes money. I mean, guns are cool and stuff, but Dan definitely didn't have a expertise in that field. So we help each other out. He teaches me about his guns, and I teach him more about camera stuff. You created Talos of Food because Dan passed 1,000, so there has to be a channel less than 1,000. Yeah, well, I mean, the music channel is still under 1,000. I still think that the music channel should have surpassed movie reviews because it gets more content, and I really enjoy the content on Talos of Music. It's just kind of songs that we like, and so far all the music he's posted I've really enjoyed. So I'm really proud of that channel, and I like the way it's growing. It's growing steadily and strong, but definitely a lot newer than movie review, so that's probably why it couldn't beat it to 1,000. But I bet music will pass it eventually. Have you been experiencing any iOS 11 bugs, asks Cameron. Not really. I mean, I know a lot of people were saying that iOS 11 was buggy, but by the way, it's not uncommon for an initial release of an operating system to be a little buggy. Every single time there's problems. And to be honest, the iOS 11 bugs I'm hearing about are not that bad compared to bugs I've heard about in the past. There's been some major bugs like deactivating cellular. That was on like the first release of iOS 9 or something. That's pretty bad. Like all of a sudden now your phone can't get data unless it has Wi-Fi. So that's not as good for sure. But in terms of what I've been doing, like I know a lot of people were getting the home bar to show up on regular iPhones, like iPhone 7s and stuff. And they got the little bar at the bottom that's supposed to be on the 10 and they couldn't get it to go away, which I definitely thought was weird, but I haven't gotten any of those. I think that was more on the developer beta side. Greetings from Sweden. Hello, BRW. I definitely don't agree that iOS 11 has been more buggy than usual, because every initial release is a very buggy release, and it just takes a couple weeks for them to iron out all the kinks and fix things up. And I personally have had absolutely no problems with iOS 11. I don't have any bugs. I don't have any glitches. It's been running fine for me. I understand that's not the same situation for everyone, but keep in mind there has been far more bumpy releases than this. This is totally fine. Make a Taylosive website with any name at all. Just cover everything with ads so you can get money and fans can support you a lot. But who would want that? Who would want a Taylosive website just covered in ads? I personally wouldn't. And second of all, I had a website for a long time that had like all the channels in one place on taylosive.com. Don't go there now. Now it's probably a place for virus downloads. But taylosive.com, because I sold the domain. Like, I don't want it anymore. So I just released ownership of it for me. So I don't own taylosive.com anymore. Someone else does. And someone else also owns taylosivetech.com. But what I realized is that people want to watch videos like on the websites that they're already on. You guys are on YouTube right now, or you're on Facebook, or you're on Twitter. If you want to follow news, you don't really need to leave those websites, because I can post updates and I can post my personal thoughts on Twitter, and I can post all of my content on YouTube. And especially if you have something like YouTube Red, that's really convenient, because then all of my content doesn't have ads. See, you pay one time and no ads from me. Whereas if I started a website, now you'd have to leave YouTube, leave whatever social site you're already using, to go to specifically me, and there would be more ads in order for the website to be worth it. It's just ridiculous. There's not enough content in the Taylosive network for it to be worthy of a website or an app. If Taylosive was ever like a Netflix competitor and we had that much content, then it would kind of make sense, but Apple Fan has a donation who says, "Hi, which is better, 8 Plus or Note 8? I don't know which to pick. Please help." It's the 8 Plus. The Note 8 is a very good phone, but it's an Android phone, and it has some things that definitely don't need to be there that you shouldn't get used to using. Like, for one, a stylus, two, a headphone jack. It has a dual camera with optical image stabilization. The iPhone 8 does not. However, if you check any video camera comparison, the iPhone 8 stabilization is still far better than the Note 8's optical stabilization. You wouldn't want another service. Exactly, yeah. If we did a whole Taylosive Plus or something, it's unnecessary. I don't want to do that, and most of my fans wouldn't want to do that either. And the Note 8 is $930 starting, but of course, with taxes and fees and stuff, it'll probably be closer to $1,000. Whereas the 8 Plus, second of all, you can get in a 256 gigabyte configuration versus the Note 8 64. That's 4 times the storage. With the iPhone 8, you're getting 4K at 60. You're getting the stage light features. You're getting all the portrait mode enhancements and the True Tone display. No, the display isn't as fancy as the Note 8, but this is more of an efficiently designed smartphone. Whereas the Note 8, I think, has a lot of bells and whistles that people aren't really going to use. So that's why I'd recommend this over the Note 8. They made a hate video of you? Who did? Who's they? I love hate videos. Do you ever keep up with YouTube drama, or do you not care? I roughly follow it. I'm not subscribed to YouTubers that just talk about YouTube drama and stuff like that. It's not a major thing I follow, but I know roughly about it. It's not that interesting to me. It just gets a little bit annoying when everyone has to write a diss track, because I've never really heard or watched a diss track I enjoyed. Usually it's just about rhyming things to prove that you're better than another person. And I'm more of a debate guy. I think, like, if you have a disagreement on something, you should sit down and talk about it. You shouldn't be like, okay, time for a diss track, and that's going to prove my point. And then it's taking away the debate element of debating and resulting to, I sound really good, so I'm better. So I'm not a fan of that whole thing right now. What do you think of iPhone 10 SIM-free version will be open for orders? Yeah, the iPhone 8 was. I mean, you could get a no SIM version of the iPhone 8 on launch day, so I assume the 10 will be the same way. If S8 ran iOS, would you still buy it over the iPhone? You see, it's kind of a contradictory statement, though, because the reason iOS works so well on the iPhone is because Apple designed the phone and the software, so they're optimized together. So it's kind of broad when you say if the S8 ran iOS, because then it's like, is iOS being ran on a Snapdragon processor and with all that RAM? And if it doesn't have the A11 Bionic chip, you know, is it really going to be as high performing as an iPhone would? So I'm probably going to say no, because then Apple wouldn't be the sole designer. It wouldn't perform as well. It would still have all the Galaxy problems of lots of people who have reported that, you know, they buy a Samsung phone and it works great for a few months or a few weeks, and then it starts slowing down, it starts running into glitches and bugs, and definitely doesn't happen to everyone. I understand that. There's lots of people who have Galaxy phones that run perfectly fine for months and months and months, but for me, at least, I saw a dramatic drop in performance from my S8, and when I said that, a lot of fans agreed with it in the review. They said, yes, mine also slowed down, mine also bogged down. So definitely not everyone, but still, a substantial number of people could agree with me that that happened. Someone made a diss track on you? What? That'd be great. I'd love to hear it. Do you expect Apple to remove the notch on the iPhone 10 next year, or do you think they're going to lean into that notch design in future designs because it's more iconic and distinguishable? Okay, so first of all, I never liked the notch. We've been seeing it in the leaks for a long time, so I'm used to it. So when Apple revealed it, it wasn't a big shock to me. But for people who weren't in tech, I'm sure it was probably a surprise, or like, why did Apple do this? But I don't think the notch looks good. I don't think we should keep it there intentionally. Like, I would rather it not be there if possible. But the reason I'm okay with the notch is because I know that was the most efficient way to go with their design scheme. I didn't want an iPhone that looked just like a Galaxy phone, where they just have a slightly larger chin and a slightly larger forehead, and they stuff all the sensors in the forehead, because that would have been unoriginal. It would have been a design approach that we'd seen a billion times this year between the G6, the V30, Essential Phone. Well, the Essential Phone had a notch, but they still had that significantly bizarre larger chin. Excuse me, at the bottom, and then of course the Pixel with the same design. Like, I was just bored. Every Android phone this year just said, let's make the same design for everyone, and the only difference between Samsung and everyone else was the curved edges. That was about it. Whereas Apple said, we're gonna do something original. We want the same size bezel all the way around because that's more functional, that's more useful than to have wasted bezel space. Like, every single Android phone that came out had this slightly larger chin at the bottom, but it serves no purpose. There's no buttons there, there's no speakers there, unless we're talking about the Pixel, but the Pixel has much larger speakers than it needs. I mean, it has larger bezels than it needs for the speakers. Pixel could have very easily still contained stereo speakers without without keeping the bezels so large. So the iPhone 10 was like, no, we're going to make the bezel on the sides the same as the bottom, which I appreciate more. I think that looks better. And then they're going to make the display go edge to edge and then just have a cutout for where we absolutely need it. The sensors have to be there. So next year, I hope they can figure it out, but I'm not going to guarantee it because I know the technology's kind of out there. But they passed patents to where, OLED displays can be transparent. For those of you who don't know, they're developing AR glasses, and that technology is not new. So what they're working on is embedding all these sensors underneath the display, where somehow the cameras would be able to look through the display and still work and still be operational, or just keep them hidden underneath the display so that that part of the screen that needs to be transparent so the sensors can look at you only go transparent when Face ID or the front-facing camera is activated. So perhaps a software-looking notch would appear when you needed to activate Face ID or would appear when you need to take a selfie. And then when you're not using the front-facing camera, the display would cover up those sensors again. So it's a transparent thing, which would be cool. I would love to see that. But again, it's way, way, way too early for us to act like we know anything about next year's iPhone. I got so frustrated when people started talking about I didn't get too frustrated. It's expected. I thought it was really dumb when people started to there's going to be a 6-inch LCD iPhone next year that's more budget friendly. It's like, you guys don't know. No one knows right now. Apple's going to be experimenting with different iPhone designs and different iPhone lineups next year for the next 6 months before they decide on a product, and they definitely won't decide on the name for another 9 months. So the idea of us trying to guess what it'll be is pointless because no one knows what it is. Tim Cook doesn't know what they're going to do next year. They're still experimenting. So that's why it's dumb when people start trying to theorize these things. Do you think they will put the notch on the new iPad Pros next year on Face ID? Okay, well, there was a leak, as I anticipated this question. There was a leak, or a rumor that Face ID would be added to iPads, but that's not a big surprise. I mean, they added Touch ID to the 5S, and guess what? Touch ID came to the iPads a few years later. It came to the MacBook a few years later. So it's going to keep up. Of course, I don't think they need to add a notch on the iPad because they're not going to make the bezels on the iPad as thin as they are in the iPhone 10 because iPads need some place for you to hold it. They need some gripping space. One concept of the next generation iPad Pro I saw that I really, really liked was they made the bezel on the iPad the exact same size all the way around, and it was as thick as the side bezels on the 10.5-inch iPad, which are pretty thin, but they're enough for you to still be able to have gripping space, so you don't, you're not setting off the screen that much or having to use palm rejection constantly. There's still some space so that you can hold it and not cover up the content you're watching, but it would be the same size bezel all the way around, and then they could fit Face ID on the top one. Okay. They'll remove the notch and call it a feature. Well, it'll be an improvement. There's no denying that. I think eventually the notch will be gone, but it could be 3 to 4 years. I'm not going to say, exactly next year it'll be gone. I think that's a little ambitious. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Thank you, Drew, for putting my weirdest comment I've ever left in what is now your most viewed video. Sarcasm was used if you couldn't tell. Great. Yes, you're welcome. If you comment something, understand that is public. I'm going to see it, and other people who watch me are going to see it. And keep in mind, there are larger YouTubers watching me that still comment occasionally, like Marquez Brownlee or Mr. Who's the Boss or the rest of us, or plenty of YouTubers that are larger than me watch my videos. So keep in mind, when you comment on them, the world can see it, okay? So yes, Marquez saw your creepy comment. He did, because he watched the video. Do you think the 2017 15-inch MacBook Pro is overpriced? Oh, well, overpriced is such a broad term because overpriced means that there's something else in its field that is a better deal. And I don't agree with that because nothing in its price point is running Mac OS. And I prefer the USB-C design. I prefer the thinner design of the 2017 MacBook Pro. And there's not some Windows alternative I could ever recommend because it's not going to have Final Cut on it, and it's not going to just work as macOS is supposed to, where it's going to be Windows 10, going to be self-updated, required update. And if you keep setting cancel, then Windows 10 is just going to update without your consent. Like, that's Windows for you. So I don't recommend Windows 10 devices. I just can't anymore, just because of my poor experience with Windows 10. Some people have had it work fine for them, and I'm happy for you. But for me, in my experience, Windows 10 has been awful. The reason the 15-inch version is so expensive is because, for one, it has a dedicated GPU, which is very powerful. It can export more than a second when you're doing 1080 at 60 video, which I've loved. When I'm doing Final Cut, like, I can export a 10-minute video in 5 minutes, which is very, very nice, and it performs very, very well. I can put Windows 10 on here, not exclusively, as I've mentioned, but I boot camp Windows 10 on here, and I can play some pretty high-level games on it if I need to, for the gaming channel or whatnot. Like, it ran BF4 pretty well, and I'm sure it could handle games like Overwatch or COD. Not super well, but it can do it. It surprised me with its gaming performance. But yeah, the dedicated GPU in the solid state on a master level, and the i7 cores that are quad cores that can be turbo boosted. That, like, I think it is worth it because people buy it. I don't think it's overpriced. Like, I don't think Apple priced it the wrong way. Plus, a fingerprint reader on a MacBook is so convenient. I wish more companies would acknowledge how useful that is. Like, why didn't Pixel add a fingerprint reader to the laptop? Put it on the back for all I care, so it matches the phone. But that's so useful. Like, it's so convenient to just open it and rest your finger there. The DGPU is entry level. Final Cut is optimized. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that it's very, very optimized. And if you buy something cheaper than the 15-inch MacBook Pro, obviously, it's not going to perform as well. So I think this is worth it for people who want speed in a portable design, because this is a very, very thin device, and I can pretty much take it anywhere. Do you think I should get the MacBook Pro without touch bar or with touch bar? Which is better? Well, Apple fan, I'd recommend the one with touch bar, but not necessarily because of the touch bar, but because of the fingerprint reader, as I've mentioned. It's very, very handy. And the one without a touch bar only has one fan, and it is cheaper, but it's definitely a poor performance-wise. In terms of speed, you're not going to get as much speed. So I've used the one without the touch bar, and it's an okay laptop. If that's the one you can afford and you don't want to go any higher, I guess, there you go. But, yeah, I'm not going to recommend the one with function keys. I think you should save your money, get the nicer one, get the one with 2 fans, and with 4 USB-C ports, it'll be worth it. Sean Thompson says, I really love your channel. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm waiting until they make the keyboard fully touchscreen. That might be a while. I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be a next year feature or if that's going to be down the road. But yeah, I'd love to see that. Like, that's what's kind of confusing about the touch bar. People are like, is it a gimmick or is it the future? It's kind of both. The touch bar itself isn't really meant to be the future, but it's the first foot in the door for what the future has to hold. So for instance, like I said in my concept video, I want to see the touch bar expand to be the entire size of the MacBook, so that you have your trackpad and your touch keys in the same place, and you have haptic feedback for those keys. Even though they're not actually going down, you get a haptic feel for it. That's what I'd like to see. So the touch bar is moving in that direction, but the touch bar itself, as in just having programs that have a giant long touchscreen that you interact with, that's not really going to last. But the idea that the whole thing is OLED and the bottom of the device is just a touch interface, that's really cool. So it's sort of a gimmick and it's sort of the future at the same time. It's kind of both. My real name is Andrew Erickson. Do you think the iPhone 10 lived up to people's expectations? No, of course not. And that's something I anticipated. No iPhone is ever going to live up to people's anticipations because they expect it to fly and cure cancer. That's what every iPhone has to do every year in order to impress people. But because all they did was make the cameras better and add new secure ways of logging in and make the design better and add wireless charging and add Bluetooth 5 and make it faster and add the best camera in the world, that's not enough. That's boring. You are correct. The entire keyboard will be replaced with a 5-inch touch interface. That's Apple's reduced the keyboard travel. That's what I'm figuring. Why else would they keep trying to make the keys thinner? I mean, the keys are getting very thin, and it does allow them to stuff more computer components underneath the keyboard so that you can have a good battery and a good GPU and a good processor while still maintaining a small design, a thin, light, and portable one. So that's the goal. However, you could even stuff more stuff in there if the entire top of it was a touchscreen, because then there would be absolutely zero travel space. So that would be definitely a lot thinner, and they could stuff a lot more stuff in there. Haptic Tech says, my friend says boosted board is better than iPhone 10. Can you prove him wrong for me? A boosted board. Is that just like a skateboard with, is an electric skateboard? Yes, it is. Okay. How am I 19? You don't believe me? I was born in 1998 in February. I don't know what to say. I wish I could just pull out my birth certificate, but that's at home right now. Why is the boosted board better? Well, first of all, iPhone 10 has a camera that works really, really well. It has a display that's going to impress people. It securely protects your content. Boosted board takes a lot of practice to get used to. Their charge isn't terribly long, and the boosted boards I've seen at least are usually over $1,000. The good ones, at least. If you're getting one under $1,000, it's not going to be very fast, and it's not going to go very far. It's dangerous to ride boosted boards in the street because there's cars, and when you're riding around cars, that can be dangerous. These are two separate entirely things, but I'm trying, okay? Because you donated, and I appreciate that. Buy the iPhone 10. Don't get a boosted board. I mean, the iPhone 8. Don't raise demand for the iPhone 10. Buy your boosted board. That's better. That's totally better. When is your Apple TV review coming out? Oh, yeah. I guess I could review that. Kind of forgot about it. It's very nice to have 4K content, and it does perform very nicely. Things are a lot smoother now. Things don't crash as often as they did on the old TV. But I'm still not sold on 4K as to why people should upgrade for that. There's not really any sense or use in spending all that money just for those 4 times extra pixels. Like, it's nice. Like, I can't deny that, but I'm still torn on whether or not it's going to be consumers choosing to buy 4K because it's better, or it's just going to be the industry only making 4K stuff so that you have no other choice. Like for me, for instance, the 4K TV I bought was the identical price of a 1080p TV at the same store. So it was like, well, you can have 4 times the pixels or a quarter of those pixels, same price. So I was like, okay, now it makes sense to buy 4K. Reason I didn't have a 4K TV before was because 4K TVs were usually twice the price of 1080p TVs. And I was fine with my 1080p television. It looked great. It loaded content fine. I was like, okay, there's no need to upgrade because that would be spending a lot of money, a lot of extra money. Now I find out that they make them very, very affordable. Some are cheaper than 1080p TVs, believe it or not. Thank you, King Tony. I appreciate it. Do you think Apple will release a TV like not the existing Apple TV, a physical TV like Samsung or LG? There's been no evidence of it. There was one leak from a shady-looking image that showed a big old TV with an Apple logo on the back, but there's been theories of that for years now. Like, Apple hired TV design experts 5 years ago, and it never resulted in anything. So I see no reports from it. I don't see Venya Geskin talking about it. I don't see Ming talking about it. So I'm anticipating not anytime soon. Perhaps Apple just thinks that there's enough there's enough TVs out there that look good and work great already that they don't need to throw one in the bucket because it wouldn't sell that well or whatever. Because it would be rather expensive if Apple made their own TV. It wouldn't be affordable, that's for sure. What do you think of the SE2 concept? Again, these concepts are really cool. I mean, Photoshop's terribly useful when it comes to concepts because it becomes very simple to design your own iPad or your own iPhone. I did it. I designed my own iPad Pro. I thought that was cool. But not likely gonna happen just because I think Apple, when they want people to buy a cheaper phone, they're just gonna ask them to buy an older iPhone. They're not gonna keep designing phones specifically for people who don't want to pay very much. And the iPhone SE is now $350 starting price, which is definitely a very good deal because you're getting a 4K camera and you get live photos and you're getting what does it have in it? An A9X chip or an A10? I forget. It's a fairly powerful iPhone for a very, very decent price, and it is small, and I think they're just going to keep encouraging people to buy that. While the SE concept is cool, I think it would disregard the purpose of having the SE, which was to be cheap. It wasn't necessarily to cater the 4-inch audience. Well, a lot of people think that's what it was for. Apple's user studies, at least, were saying that most people were buying the SE, not because it was small, but because it was affordable. So I think they should just keep buying that if you want a cheap iPhone. But if we made a concept like the one the SE did, you know, with the edge-to-edge display, and it has the home bar just like the iPhone 10 does, it has Face ID and all that, it's real fancy, then it would no longer be cheap. Now the starting price of the SE would be more like $700, $800, which means it's already competing with the iPhone 8, so I don't see it happening. It's cool, but I don't see the point. iPhone 10 has been spotted in the wild. Yeah, I've seen a couple pictures of them. Some people have them, whether they be Apple employees or just testing people in general. I've seen the videos of the guys using the iPhone 10. It's cool. It's nice. It's cool to finally see it in the flesh, and you know it's real this time. It's not some Chinese knockoff trying to get views or clicks. It's just literally you can see the dynamic wallpapers working. You can see them turning on. The screen's actually working. It's refreshing to finally see it. Yes, I saw the new Star Wars trailer last night. It looks great, but this is a tech channel. Either way, I think it looks really good. I can't wait to see it. Show us the phone you designed. Yeah, there's a super chat. I've messed around with designing my own concepts and between software and hardware of like if I had a tech company, what it would be like. But the world's not ready for that, and I actually would like to keep that fairly secret because a lot of the designs I came up with and a lot of the designs I thought of were also done later on by other companies. Anyway, Thomas Nass says, what is your favorite product or innovation? Not iPhone. You're the best YouTuber and hope you always going to be the Apple sheep. Thank you very much, Thomas. I appreciate that. Well, first of all, it is the iPhone, so I guess I can't say that because not iPhone. Your favorite product or innovation? I have to say I am starting to really, really appreciate my Apple Watch more than most people likely are. A lot of people are just looking at it as an accessory, and it's a basic one that not everyone needs. But I've really been overall impressed with how it's changed my life. Not in terms of like, but I see things differently now. I just mean like, I'm very, very grateful that there's something that can remind me to be more active and also notification management. And now with the Series 3 being more independent where I can leave the phone behind and not take it with me, that's really great. And I've enjoyed that it can pair with AirPods, and now with the update, it can stream any song on Apple Music. It's just an overall wonderful package. So if I had to say favorite product or innovation that wasn't the iPhone, I'd probably say Apple Watch. It's the most personal product ever. You wear it. It's very customizable. It kind of feels like you're in a special club when you're with your friends and they have them too, and you can talk about activity rings. And I think it's opened up this whole new fandom of Apple. Yes, Durka. Okay, which side are you on, iDubbbz or Rice Gum? Okay, this is a controversial topic, right? Because there's debates out there and people doing diss tracks on each other. I saw the iDubbbz video, but all I have to say is that I am not subscribed to either. I don't watch iDubbbz videos. I don't watch Rice Gum videos. I did see the content cop on Rice Gum, and I have to say I lean more towards the iDubbbz opinion because he seems more justified, and overall I don't really enjoy the style of YouTuber Rice Gum is. I know he has a lot of fans, but it's just not my thing. But I don't subscribe. I don't fully endorse either of them. They both have major flaws, but I lean more towards iDubbbz. There you go. There's your answer. I'm going to buy AirPods, but I really want some black ones. Should I get white or wait to see Apple release a black pair? I wouldn't wait on a black pair because it doesn't feel like Apple's going to be releasing that anytime soon. You can get them from Colorware. They're just going to take a long time to get to you, and they're a lot of money. But I get a lot of people are also questioning it right now because the wireless charging ones are supposedly in the works but not available yet. So now a lot of people don't want to buy AirPods because they're waiting for those. But I'd encourage people to consider now is probably an okay time to still get the ordinary AirPods, just because for them to be worth it, you probably need to be buying an iPhone 8 and a Series 3 Apple Watch. And if you don't have those already, or you don't plan on buying those, or AirPower, because it's rumored that the next generation AirPods will charge with AirPower, not necessarily Qi chargers. We don't know. They didn't specify. Maybe selected Qi chargers. I'm not sure. But only wait for that wireless charging pair of AirPods if you intend on getting an iPhone 8 and Apple Watch Series 3 down the road. Because that's what AirPower is really for. It's for Apple sheep who buy all three of those products. They're getting the phone, they're getting the watch, and the AirPods. So I'll be getting them, of course, as soon as they're available. But they're likely to become available alongside AirPower, which isn't until March of 2018. So you still got another 5 months until those new generation of AirPods are available. So AirPods, $160. They may seem like a lot for headphones, but come on, you can treat yourself. You can wear those until the new ones come out. AirPods audio quality, will it make an audiophile happy? Probably not because of the sound quality, but because audiophiles don't like sound latency. Audiophiles I know still prefer wired just because of the novelty of it as well as the sound quality or something, but I'm not an audiophile. I don't notice things like that. I can't pick it up. I don't hear it. So I love AirPods, but I've heard audiophile people say they don't like wireless headphones at all because all wireless headphones have lag or they're not as fast or whatever as wired, but I don't know things like that. I want the iPhone 10 and have been saving birthday and Christmas money. My dad says it is too expensive. Any advice convincing him? Well, he can be right about that. I would recommend that you have more of an income than just birthday and Christmas money. That's still, even if you make over $500 from your birthday and Christmas, that's pretty sweet, dude. That's pretty awesome. But I would definitely recommend either trying to find a job of some sort, and it doesn't have to be one that requires a work permit. I didn't have a work permit ever, but I always had an income, whether it be mowing people's lawns or just doing chores for grandparents and stuff like that. When I was younger. Now, of course, I have an actual job, but I'm old enough I don't need a work permit. I recommend having some form of income if you're spending $1,000 on a smartphone. But your dad's not terribly wrong. I mean, the iPhone 10 is expensive. There's no denying that. I think it should have been priced higher so that people who do want to get it don't really have that option where it could just look at it and be like, this is impossible, this is way too expensive. Even if I saved all of my birthday and Christmas money, I can't afford it. So yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the justification is that it's the best smartphone in the world, but I imagine if your dad's saying it's too expensive, that's probably not going to change his mind. When I was younger, I also had to convince my parents as to why I wanted to buy things, but should be fun mocking them. Oh, yes. Apple Sheep Podcast is... Uh-oh. There's a problem. Oh, shoot. We're on the wrong network again. One sec. I think the Wi-Fi's on the wrong one. YouTube is my job, yes. Is there a problem? I think you can say... It said low bandwidth for a second. I apologize. Audio went out. Love your videos. Are you in call? Okay, 1 second, guys. 1 second. 1 sec. Gonna reset internet. BRB. Okay, should be coming back pretty quickly. Sorry about that. I forgot again. I made the stupid mistake to connect to Telos, the wrong Wi-Fi network. We have two. One for long range that's not as fast, and one for 5G. If we're getting no sound. 1 sec. Everyone refresh. You back. It's back. Great. Everyone refresh. Do you think Apple should continue with their iPad mini series? I think they should. I don't think they're going to. There's just not enough people buying them. You are back now. Great. Wonderful. Thank you. I need to hear the response. Yeah, I'm excited. What? Come on. Stop doing this to me. Don't be slow. Dumb thing. He's never had a problem with this before. Oh my god, Xfinity, what is your deal? Okay. Will we see a Taylor's website? No, there's no need to. Just use YouTube. It's cheaper for me and it's easier for you. What's the best wireless charger I could get for my iPhone 8 Plus? I'm going to recommend the $12 one on Amazon. If you go on Amazon and just search Qi wireless charger, there's one that's like really, really cheap and it works very well. I've been using that one the most. It works. It's very affordable. All good on my side. Great. Sorry about that. Elgato says it cannot render 30 FPS, but I don't see people having a problem yet. Okay, it's fine. Do you earn a lot from YouTube? I do make a lot from YouTube. The issue is most of all the money I make is immediately spent on all the products I review, whether it be iPhones or Apple Watches or AirPods or MacBooks. Every dollar I make typically goes directly to what I make. So what it means is I make a lot of money, but I spend so much money that not very much just goes in my pocket. I don't just sit on a ton of money. I don't drive fancy cars. I don't do social experiments where I throw thousands of dollars on homeless people like other YouTubers. I don't have the money to review every phone that comes out. Like I can't afford the Pixel 2 and the Note 8 and the Essential phone. I would love to review those, but they're too much money. If you can't hear any, well, I guess you can't hear me if I continue. Refresh if there's issues. Refresh if there's a problem. I apologize if there's problems just for you, but do you think the white and black iPhone X comes with the same stainless steel color, or are they different? Keep up the great work. From what I understand, the stainless steel on the white one is a bit more silver and chrome than the space gray one. I thought the space gray one was a bit of a different shade. That's what I thought. I'd be getting space gray. What do you think about the Mac Mini, and will we ever get a refresh? Like I said, Apple works on what they know people are going to buy, and sadly, there's just not a huge fan base for the Mac Mini. I apologize about that, but there's just not, so don't expect much from Apple in that regard. Is Taylor's of Food an actual channel, or is it just a cover for another secret project? Please paste the link in the chat. So yeah, Taylor's of Food is real. I don't want to paste the link in the chat because it's a lot of work. You can just go to my recommended channel. But it's a joke. It's a real joke. It's a real channel where we actually review food, which is a joke. So it can be both. Don't ask if it's a joke or if it's real. It's both. It's a real joke. I'll be getting the 256 gigabyte space gray iPhone X. So yeah, there goes all the money. Shing! All that super chat, all of that donations, all of the Patreon, all that set in one direction. There it goes. What are my chances of pre-ordering the iPhone X for the November release? They're low. I gotta say, they're low for everyone. It's not just a matter of it being low for a couple people. It's literally anyone who wants it on the day of release is going to have a hard time with it. Essentially, you really need to be up at midnight, the night of October 26th, getting ready for the 27th at exactly 12:01. Apple Store page will open, and there will be very, very limited quantities available. So the people who have it favorited, the people who are ready to tap and hit purchase, and who have bank accounts that are ready, what are you going to do if you don't get an iPhone X? Well, I'm going to order one. It's a question of will I get it on November 3rd or will I get it in December? We don't know. Because I think it will make a difference if you order it the second minute. 12:02 will get different delivery times than 12:01. It's going to be such low in stock that I can't guarantee it. I really hope I can get it, but I'm going to try my best to. And for everyone else, you have low chances, so just consider it like it's not going to happen. If you can't afford it on October 26th, if you don't have the money for it by then, don't try. Don't try to order it in November. Don't try to pre-order it on October 30th, because by then shipping times is going to be 3 months or 5 months by then. It's going to be something crazy. Why isn't there a SIM-free model for the iPhone X? So for those of you who missed the idea. When you pre-order something, I mean, when the pre-orders aren't available yet and it's just telling you that the product is out, you can't choose the option of SIM-free. So before the iPhone 8 pre-orders went up, there was not a SIM-free option of the iPhone 8. Obviously, when the pre-orders went live, then that option opens up and you can select it. So the iPhone 10, it'll be the same situation. When you go to the Apple Store page, the SIM-free option will be there. But right now it's not there because it's not available for pre-order yet. There you go. Chances are so low, don't bother waking up. See, like I said, if you really want it as soon as possible, you need the money for it right away. Don't be like, I can't afford it now, but I'll have the money for it on November 10th or something. If for the rest of October and November after the pre-orders go live, there will be no point in ordering one because you're going to be waiting like 3 months anyway. Which means that by the time they're in stock, you'll probably be able to just walk into a store and buy one anyway. Do you know if you can get a review unit? No, I don't think so. Have you ever tried to get into coding? I started learning Swift a while ago, and it's quite fun. I have tried coding. It's not for me. I'm not a code guy. I took a website design class in college and just hated every minute of it. Can I start my YouTube channel using only an iPhone 8 Plus? You can. Talos of Food is only ran on an iPhone 8 Plus, and Talos of Talks, was originally only a iPhone run channel. Talos of Talks was just vlogs. They were edited on the iPhone. They were uploaded on the iPhone. The thumbnails were made on the iPhone. You can run a whole channel on an iPhone. It's definitely possible. Are you in college now? Nope, I dropped out almost 2 years ago. Well, I think technically like a year ago because I've been working the past year, but yeah. Do you know if you are able to get a review? No, I cannot get a review unit. I'm going to pay $1,200 for the iPhone 10 in South Africa. Goodness, that's a lot of money. I can almost understand it, but yeah, that's a lot. Goodness. Pre-ordering through carrier, what do you think? I don't think your chances are any better going through the carrier. I again wish it luck to all of you, but I don't think there's any one way that's going to be the definite, this is the best way to get through. Simplicity rather than rubbish all cluttered all over the screen. Okay. I'm getting the iPhone 8. Do you have any tips for new iOS users? Just play. Same suggestion for anyone who buys anything. Just play with it. You know, just press buttons, see what happens. For someone who hasn't done iOS before, welcome to the Apple ecosystem and enjoy. You know, find other products that Apple designed that you enjoy, like AirPods and Apple Watch, and see how it works with them. Is there a banana anywhere in your office? Nope. No bananas here. Absolute Zeros. It's been a while. Things are different. They are? I've been streaming like this for a while. It's been a few months, but thank you for your donation. What MacBook you have there? This is the base model 15-inch MacBook Pro, space gray. It's the cheapest 15-inch one you can get, so lowest storage, lowest processor, but it's still a quad-core i7, 256 gigs, solid-state 16 gigs of RAM, dedicated GPU with, 1.5 gigs of GPU. How is it? What do you think about Chris Barlow's opinion on Apple stuff? You ever watched any of his recent videos? Sadly, I have not. I'm sorry, I don't watch a ton of tech YouTubers, actually, to be honest. Mostly because I can't stand that many. But no, I'm sure he goes along with all the people I know who don't like Apple. It's not unheard of that people don't like Apple. It's very ordinary. I'm an Apple sheep, that's why I like you, but Tio Joe is biased towards Windows. I hate him. Maybe you and him can collab with him, get a nice debate going. Yeah, I would like to. Collabs are kind of difficult to organize sometimes, but yeah, I like talking to people who disagree with me. It's fun. Have you tried long exposure settings, live photo on iOS 11? Yeah, I did that a lot. I find it the most effective with water. The pictures of water with the long exposure look really, really cool. You should try that. Especially running water. If you're at a creek or a river or something, it turns any photo into really cinematic. Yeah, I do watch all of Marquez's videos. I didn't before the collab, but since he collabed, I just feel so grateful. He saw my video and agreed to collab, so I kind of feel like I'm friends with him. That's my boy. So when I see Marquez upload a video, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna watch with him. Show us your girlfriend. She's in Taylosive Talks all the time. You guys can see her on the Taylosive Talks channel all the time. Talk about exposing Taylosive tech. Well, I saw one video that was hilarious and I commented on it. Is there another one? I haven't checked. I love those. Can you go swimming in the sport loop? Is it waterproof? Yes, the sport loop is designed to get wet. It dries very, very quickly. I wore it in the shower and I've worn it swimming. It's very, very, obviously it gets a little damp when it's wet, but then afterwards it dries very, very quickly. Just in modern, you don't have to be outside for it to dry fast. Don't you think his bias is hilarious? It's not hilarious, but I question it. I definitely don't understand his big excitement towards Google products, but that's just me. I guess he grew up differently than I did. He was used to things not being Apple, and I'm used to things being Apple and things not being able to compete with it, which has so far been true for me. Can you take my name? It's Sambit. Okay, I took it. Hey, do you think iTunes videos ever open up to Android platforms? I mean, they could. What would be the point? Apple wants exclusives. They want you to stay on their side of the, on their side of the river. So they're just going to keep telling you to buy movies on iTunes, which are now available in 4K and HDR. I haven't bought any yet, but that'd be cool. I've mostly been watching 4K stuff on Netflix. How much will the iPhone 10 256 gig will cost after tax? For me, probably around $12.50, $12.40, I'm guessing. I don't know. I could do the exact math, but I typically just have a rough estimate, and I'm usually pretty close. You don't understand Google is the wave of the future. Apple is modern, but what Google's doing is futuristic. I don't agree that what Google's doing is futuristic. I think what they think is doing is futuristic, but to me, Google seems like they're basing all of their products around you asking a lot of random questions because machine learning is cool. That's what I get from Google a lot, is that they want you to now talk to their products more often because they know a lot of stuff. And I'm not denying that Google knows a lot of stuff. They have access to the internet, and Google is kind of the harness of the internet itself. But I feel like Google bases all of their products around you doing Google searches because that's how they make their money. Whereas Apple, I feel, is more based around making products help you be you, where I feel Google more pulling you to do things differently, change the way you interact in life. Now, when you're at home or at the office, you should just start randomly blurting out the word Google so that you can know the answers to stuff. Every ad for the Google Home or every ad for the Google Pixel or whatever talking about the Google Assistant or the speakers shows off all these features I never see myself using. Like in Marquez's Home Mini review, I'm never sitting around my office thinking, what's the surface temperature of the sun? And I know that if I just went on Safari or if I went on my phone, I could figure that out. I don't need a product specifically for that. If you're talking about just a speaker or you're talking about just a phone, I have that. But don't expect the fact that my phone can tell me random facts to be a better reason to buy it. It's not something I need, and that's pointless. I don't need to know the surface temperature of the sun. I don't need to know how much fat is in an avocado. If my phone is lost, I'm not going to ask a speaker. I'm going to ping it with my watch because that's a mobile product. And also the Google Home Mini has micro USB, not USB-C. So screw you, Google. That's dumb. Comment on every tech YouTuber trying to defend the Pixel 2's bezels with stereo speakers. Are they paid by Google like DxO seems to? I think when you're paid by Google, like I am, it's probably not smart to criticize them because keep in mind, like I almost never get demonetized on my tech channel because for one, I'm not controversial. I'm not violent. I didn't upload a video saying all of the ad revenue is going to Las Vegas shooters because that apparently means that YouTube will demonetize you. If you saw that story with Casey Neistat, but they didn't do it for Jimmy Fallon, kind of biased and messed up. I don't do controversial things like that. I just talk about technology, and that's all I want to talk about is tech. And I talk about what tech I like and don't like. And I said that I don't like the Google Pixel, and then that video gets demonetized. Like, that's messed up. So I feel like if Google is sending you the Pixel phone early, like they did to many people, they sent Pixel Buds early, they sent the Pixel phone early to certain YouTubers so that they could upload videos about it the day it released. And obviously, if Google's giving you special treatment like that, you're going to say nice things about it. Google's not saying anything nice about me. They're not giving me free stuff. They're not paying me extra to say I like the Pixel. So, no, I'm not going to admit that it's a good phone because I don't think it is. I am very upset with that DxO Mark company because I feel like the entire company is designed to say how good a camera is at being the Pixel camera. They don't consider all of the features the Pixel does not have that other phones do, which upsets me that they don't consider that. Like, for instance, some of the best new features with the iPhone 8 are the different forms of lighting you get with portrait effect. That, you can now change the contour light, the stage light, the mono light. That's a very added bonus that the Pixel phone does not do. The Note phone does not do either. When you take portrait shots on an iPhone, you can edit them so that they're black backgrounds or that they're black and white, and you can change whether it's cinematic lighting or regular lighting or room lighting or all those options. Not to mention, you can airdrop those pictures to an iPad or iPhone, and the users of that iPhone or iPad can still change the lighting. If you send a regular portrait mode shot to a friend, they can change it to stage lighting. Like, it saves all of that user data within a single picture. Also, I was very upset that Google decided that dual cameras were only useful for portrait shots. Like, they don't need a dual camera. They literally brought that up in the video. They're like, where's the dual camera? They're like, no need, because software. That's not the only reason we have dual cameras, Google. First of all, LG likes having a wide angle. I don't admit that a wide angle lens is very useful, but at least it's a different angle. You have that option. It's a uniqueness to LG. And with Samsung and Apple, you have that option of zooming in and not losing quality. And I think portrait shots that aren't very wide angle, portrait shots that are zoomed in with a telephoto lens, look a lot better. They look a lot more cinematic. When DSLR cameras are taking pictures, typically they're zooming in. They're not taking all their cinematic pictures all the way zoomed out like the Pixel camera is. And they're not considering that on DxO Mark. They're just saying, well, they have portrait mode, so I guess you don't need a dual camera. And it's like, you're literally lacking a feature. And they don't consider on the iPhone 8 that you have 4K at 60 or 1080 at 240. Not on one, but on two cameras on the back. They're like, not important. Let's focus on the color, because that's a giant difference between the Pixel and the iPhone, is the color of the pictures. Like, I don't like it when camera companies review that, because it's like the colors are different. I can't necessarily say one color is better than the other. It's like darker shade of blue, lighter shade of blue. One is more accurate. Who cares at that point? No one's going to buy a phone based upon the slight variation in color saturation. Sometimes it's oversaturated. Sometimes it's undersaturated. Let's talk about what the picture looks like. I think that the stage light photo looks amazing on the iPhone 8 Plus, and I love taking pictures like that. It's a great feature because every time I take a picture of it, I show it to a friend, I show it to a family member, and they're like, whoa, that's really cool. My phone can't do that. That's what should get people excited for a phone. I take a picture with a Pixel phone, they go, yeah, that looks good. It looks like a picture. And then you do a portrait shot, it's like, yeah, all of our iPhone 7s can do that because tons of people have an iPhone 7 now. All of our Galaxy phones can do that because they've been doing that for a while. Like, Google acted like using software to make portrait shots was an original idea. Like, no one's done that before. The other Android companies have been doing it for years. Galaxy S8's been doing it all year, and they're acting like they're the ones who invented it. At this point, camera specs aren't beating personal preference. My personal preference is camera specs. Can I film at 4K at 60 on a Pixel? No, I can't. Okay, I'm not interested because I can do that on here, and that's cool. Because no other phone can do that. Which iPhone 10 color, in your opinion, will be in higher demand? Space gray is usually higher in demand, so I'm anticipating that will be. What will be the next revolution after the smartphone era, in your opinions? I think the smartphone era is going to last another 10 years, and then everything's going to look the same, and every phone is going to have every feature, so there won't be much to add, and people will get bored of smartphones. After that, I think we'll have a car revolution. Because of laws countries are passing that say, you have to start selling electric cars or autonomous cars, or lots of countries are passing laws about that now. So I think that the next big era is going to be automobiles that are intelligently... Sound like a car crash just happened. Intelligently designed and be switching more and more to electric power and be driving themselves. I think that's going to be the next big era of tech. Will the iPhone 7 Plus get portrait lighting? No, it doesn't have the hardware for it. It's literally a differently designed camera. Moto G5 can record in 4K. Problem is not as good as iPhone. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, recording resolutions, iPhone is the winner. Lighting and the way pictures look, to me, I don't compare color. I don't compare, like, when I zoom it in at a 400%, how does it look? Which, by the way, the iPhone would win because it has a telephoto camera, so you're not losing as much data when you zoom in on things. But I think portrait shots, when they're in a telephoto lens, look better than they do than a wide angle on the Pixel. I think the Pixel will have a dual camera next year, and they'll just say that it's better now. After last year, when they said, you don't need it. What will replace the smartphone? I don't think anything will for a long, long time. I think the smartphone is too practical, too useful, that there's not anything else out there that can truly replace it for a long time. And yeah, ARKit is a sign of Apple glasses. That is definitely happening. It's just a matter of time. Triple camera? Yeah, I mean, Venya Geskin made a tweet about that. I don't think that's that far-fetched. He thinks that in the future, phones will have 4 cameras, one wide, one mid, one telephoto, and one monochrome for just collecting data. And that's what future smartphones will have, which seems believable to me. I can see that. Do you think Apple's developing a car to rival Tesla? I wish they would, but I don't think they are. I think they're just focusing on software. I don't get why people were so impressed that Unbox Therapy iPhone 8 video. How are you going to sit there and pretend iPhone 8 is boring when so many other Android phones were even worse this year? I can understand people saying the iPhone 8 isn't a massive upgrade because it doesn't look like one, but once you use it, I think you notice it's a massive upgrade. He obviously was just unboxing them, so he hadn't really used them before. I didn't understand why people thought that Unbox Therapy video about the iPhone 8 was, like, revolutionary. I was kind of disappointed because it said Unbox Therapy, and he didn't unbox it. I mean, there's been less noticeable Android updates. People acting like a glass back isn't a big change. Like, people got excited for the Galaxy S6. I thought that was a big step backwards for Samsung. They had this S5 phone, and it had a removable battery, and you had expandable storage, and you had waterproofing, and then they changed it to a glass back, and then you lost expandable storage, you lost water resistance, and you lost the removable battery. Everything was internal. I mean, people still got excited for that. How is the upgrade from the 7 to the 8 much different? The 8 isn't taking away that many features of the 7. Yet the S6 took away a lot of features of the S5, and people were still okay with that. You literally made me proud of being an Apple sheep. Good, you should be. I don't want people online thinking they're dumb for choosing Apple, because that seemed to be a lot of Google sheep's, Fandroid's method for making you switch to Android, was to say that, well, if you buy Apple products, you're dumb. And I don't think that's true. I think if you like Apple products, it's justifiable. I don't think you're the only right answer, that you are the sole reason, that only Apple can be right. That's not true at all, but I just don't think that in an argument when we're debating Apple or Google or Apple or Microsoft, you should be told that your intelligence is idiotic for liking Apple. Love your rants. Good. We're just about past an hour, guys, so we're going to do our last questions here, wrap it up pretty quick. People saying Pixel is a great upgrade. I think it's just camera and some display. That's it. I don't see how it's anything we haven't seen before. There's so many other great Android alternatives than the Pixel. Like, of all the Android phones to come out this year, the Pixel would be at the bottom for me. There's not some other Android phone that I think did worse. Thank you for being biased about different platforms. I think everyone's biased. If everyone saw my video with Marquez, he admitted that he is biased. And he said people put the non-bias label on him, which he doesn't agree with. He thinks that you should embrace your bias, and that as you get bigger, you get pulled, you get requested to be pulled toward the middle, but you shouldn't. He says he is admittedly biased. Some iSheep also call you dumb for using Android. Many in your comment sections. Yeah. Well, like I said in my Apple Sheep video, I'm not saying that all Apple Sheep are right, and I'm not saying that all Google Fandroids are wrong. It's on both sides. I do acknowledge that there are many iSheep that call Android people dumb, and that's wrong. I'm saying that I want to be Apple sheep bias on YouTube because there's such a Google bias already. We need some compensation. I felt that there was a far more leaning Google site than there was Apple site. I didn't like. Still to this day, I don't feel that it's balanced equally. I don't think that there's an equal number of Apple bias channels to Google bias channels. I think most people, it is most popular and most common to make fun of Apple than it is to make fun of anyone else. That's why when the new iPhone comes out, you see all the different iPhone parodies. When Samsung releases a new phone or Google releases a new phone, you don't see that many parodies about them. There's some, but it's definitely not to the extent. People don't get riled up and upset about the S8 or about the Pixel, and it's because there's not that much to be excited about or to be upset about. The Pixel, I think there is, but no one does get excited. We all can agree that Apple has a superior ecosystem. What improvements would you like to see? Yeah, I think that's the undeniable piece, is that I think what matters to me in tech is that, you know, an iPhone can only do so much. So I don't buy a phone based upon what the phone can do. I buy a phone based on how it interacts with other tech. And I don't think that there's denying that Apple has the strongest ecosystem of products. No one competes with that. One thing they could improve is a bit more correlation between colors and names. I don't feel like they coordinate that much. I think sometimes that we have, you know, a matte black iPhone 7, but a space gray Apple Watch, and a product red iPhone, but a space gray iPad. And then different colors don't coordinate that much. They could communicate a little better in that department. And the naming schemes are all over the place. Jaden says, my friends tell me the iPhone copied Samsung. They did. Everyone copied each other. Samsung copied Apple, and Apple copied Samsung. Apple moved into the direction of phablets and larger phones, which was originally a Samsung thing, and they're switching to OLED. And I mean, Samsung is a major part of iPhone's design, so it's not necessarily them copying them; it's them working together. You know, Samsung is going to make $4 billion more from iPhone 10 than they are the S8. So when you're buying an iPhone 10, at least half that money's going back to Samsung. So it's kind of an overlap. You know, it's Apple versus Google, but Samsung is kind of a little bit in both fields. Samsung makes products for Apple and Google, so they kind of go on both sides. I think Samsungs are the best Android phones, hands down. I would take an S8 over an LG V30. I would take a Note 8 over a Pixel. I think they make the best Android phones, no denying it. I agree, but for me, optimization beats out customization. It does, because I feel like customization is only fun for a short while. It gets old very quickly. As someone who's used Android phones exclusively, the customization between the Nova Launcher and the apps and stuff, which is ironic because a lot of the reason people prefer the Pixel is that it's stock Android. So it's like, oh, so you like to buy phones and not customize them. You like to just have them work when you turn it on, and you don't want to mess with the launcher or the app logos or anything. It's funny. I thought Android was about customization. But when I customize an Android phone, it's fun. It's like, okay, I'm going to put these apps here. I'm going to get this theme pack. I'm going to get this wallpaper. I'm just going to do this thing. Maybe 20, 30 minutes. And it's like, great. Looks fine. I'm done now. Whereas optimization is something that's appreciated as you use the product, no matter how long you use the product. The optimization, the speed, the way the OS works with the hardware is just so thought out that it keeps the phone everlasting. It keeps those features there. It keeps that optimization everlasting, whereas customization is really only good in short bursts, and then you kind of forget about it. It's like, okay, I customized, great, done. Look, I customized my phone to be this way, and people go, uh-huh. That's weird. I mean, iOS users don't really care that much about customization because they're fine with the layout that they were given to them. And Pixel fans like the Pixel because of stock Android. You know, they like the OS that was given to them. They don't want to change it. So it's like, well, isn't that disagreeing with the whole purpose of Android? I don't know. If it wasn't for Apple, Samsung wouldn't make smartphones. Yeah. You could say that the smartphone lineup today would look very, very different than if Apple didn't exist. Should I buy the Apple Watch Series 3? I have never owned one, and I'm not a fitness guy. Yes, you should, because you will be a fitness guy afterwards. I wasn't either until I got one. Anyway, thank you guys for all your donations. I appreciate all of them. Thank you for all your questions. If you haven't yet, check out all of the other Taylosive channels. You just go to my channel and go to the channel section. Subscribe to all that crap. If you feel like your question wasn't answered, you can subscribe, to Taylosive Gaming. If you want to see more of my personal life, there's Taylosive Talks. If you want to see more comedy sketches, it's on the main channel, Taylosive. Check out all the channels, music channel, all that stuff. Movie reviews, food, whatever you want. Thanks for all your questions. I hope you have a pleasant, pleasant day. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.